This is Rudo Radio coming to you from the 559.
Hello and welcome to Rudo Radio, SB Nation and Cage Side Seats weekly wrestling podcast. I am joined, as always, by Mr. Marc Normandin.
Mr.? Really?
Normandin. Sorry, I had to. How's it going, Mark?
Oh, you know, besides just being called Mr. on my own fucking podcast, pretty good.
Our own fucking podcast.
Not when you call me Mr., it's not.
Mr. Marc Normandin. Sorry.
Just manager.
There's not a lot of news this week, but there is one thing which we wanted to talk about, which is the fact that WWE decided to treat Roman Reigns' suspension with, acknowledgement, which is not something most people expected. I did, because Roman tweeted about it, but I was surprised that they quote-unquote went there right off the bat. Were you surprised?
Only a little that they talked about it as long as they did. I wasn't sure if they were going to address it right away. I liked kind of the work shoot angle of it, where Seth is like, we're going to talk about Roman Reigns because I'm here with a microphone and they can't give a kill signal from the truck. And I think we talked last week about the fact that Roman Reigns tweeted that was pretty much a warning that they were going to use that tweet on Raw at some point.
Yeah, you have to. You can't not, with the way that the show is now constructed, not mentioning that would go against pretty much everything they're trying to do, I feel like.
Yeah, it keeps it all cohesive. You must pay attention to us on all social channels and all media channels, and, we're all consuming.
Consume.
I will say, the fact that they really hammered home that he was still going to be in the triple threat match, and Dean Ambrose defended him and said, everyone makes mistakes, blah, blah, blah. It does make me think in my speculative mind that this maybe was a case of Roman Reigns not reading a label carefully enough, as again, we discussed last week.
Yeah. And
not something more sinister that would set the entire locker room, there's probably no mob forming if that's the case. You would think that these people who are not protected by a union, whose careers could be snuffed out at any time by the wrong mistake, would be thankful that, WWE is being lenient, I guess. But then again, we don't know. Roman Reigns might take pins every month for the next, year, so we'll see.
I guess I want to touch on this briefly. I mean, we talked about it last week, but it really seems, in contrary to some of the rumors that have been out, that they're really behind Dean in a way that makes you feel like the Roman Reigns suspension was not a happy accident, but it gave them an out for something they didn't want to do but were leaning towards anyways. Did you get that feeling, or is that just me?
No, I mean, it makes sense in that, we weren't sure when they knew Roman tested positive, and part of that was that Dean made so much sense.
Exactly.
And in that moment and everything. And I mean, you can argue it came out of nowhere, but they teased it 8 days before, or 7 days. Yeah, they teased it 8 days before the announcement, or 9 days before the announcement. I don't know how time works. Ambrose has made so much sense. It tied into Money in the Bank in the ways that we talked about a week ago, where all the major important things in his career happen. They've teased him almost being champion on so many occasions that him finally doing it in the contextual situation that makes the most sense is there. There's all that talk about the shows Dean Ambrose is headlining. We're selling more house show tickets than the ones Roman Reigns was headlining. So you can have that.
Yeah, to me was extremely interesting in a way that a lot of those kind of this is what the numbers are doing stories weren't. It's that Dean Ambrose was both overachieving and basically beating Roman where Roman was wildly underachieving, it felt like. Like, there was a real... because Dean Ambrose, in a way that CM Punk kind of did, but not exactly, does fit their mold for a champion. He's great with the PR. He's a good interview. He's a tall, good-looking guy who can take the punishment. I'm not surprised. This isn't Daniel Bryan or something like that, where he goes against the grain of what they want. So I feel like once they started to realize, and this is obviously just speculation, that Dean was starting to genuinely be a guy that they could put the belt on as a standard bearer, I think that this was going to happen one way or the other, meaning him getting the Money in the Bank and then cashing it in. But the fact that Roman got in the trouble he did allowed them to have a very specific... because I don't know if you saw this rumor that Triple H had originally wanted Dean to cash in one way or the other, and that the loss for Roman was Vince's doing. So they were going to have Dean cash in one way or the other, but they're going to make it a quick triple threat as like a tease. Mm-hmm. So I feel like and this is a rumor, but that makes sense to me narratively in a way that it would have worked it would have worked no matter what the circumstances with Roman, to such a level that, like you said, he's already there. So I'm pretty much in the same way I was indifferent as to whether or not or when they decided to have Daniel Bryan get his massive push. I was really indifferent to at least the sense of like, well, what did this happen because of Roman? But I do think that it did give them like a way to hotshot it without having to feel like they had wasted all this investment in a guy just to take him away, in the same way that if you sign a free agent, you don't want to put him on the bench right away.
Yeah, and I mean, it's kind of the same situation as to why they're not undoing the triple threat, which they teased undoing it by making it an even bigger match. Just, well, I guess bigger in terms of more people in it, not necessarily bigger in terms of storyline or anything. With all the Raw teases about adding Cena and adding Styles, which is pretty much what Raw centered around. And part of that is because, they've already invested this time in Reigns, and, they have these punishment systems in place for a reason. So, if, I'm sure if he has a mistake again, whether it was, an innocent one, like misreading a label and getting punished, or it was something more sinister, this feels like kind of the freebie. But again, if he gets pinned every pay-per-view for the next 6 months to a year or whatever, then maybe not.
Yeah. I also thought, and I guess we can start talking about Raw now, that Dean's reaction was interesting in the everybody makes mistakes, because I thought they were just going to have him leave him out to dry, basically. And along with that, I thought that Seth didn't do a good, and maybe he was held back by by the people backstage, but it felt like they were trying to go around the 5th year anniversary of the pipe bomb with another pipe bomb, but Mr. Brandon Stroud brought this up, that they had the Twitter graphic ready, so it kind of ruined it a little bit, at least for me. It took me out of it for that split second of, oh man, I can't believe they're really talking about this. Not in the sense that I'm shocked that they would break kayfabe or whatever, but that they don't unless they really find a compelling reason. So I felt like they kind of, I don't want to say half-assed them talking about it, but I felt like it could have been more. Did you feel like they gave you everything in terms of talking about it, or did you think it was just them hinting towards breaking the fourth wall without actually doing it?
I mean, I didn't think of it as Punk levels, even when they started talking about it before the graphic showed up or anything. That didn't cross my mind. So I guess I didn't have the same level of disappointment, because what I thought it was different. Mm-hmm. I just thought it was Seth explaining it, and in the same way you get people to play your music or whatever, and they just listen to whatever the wrestlers backstage or in the ring say. A graphic showed up. That was about as much thought as I put into it. Mm-hmm. Seth had the graphic ready because Seth knew what he was going to go out there and talk about.
I like that interpretation. He's like, no, I have Johnny in the back. Johnny knows when to hit the button.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes more sense. I actually liked both what they did in the opening segment and the matches they had. I even didn't mind this is the schmaz, so we're gonna book ourselves out of this schmaz that they did, because I like that it involved Dean Ambrose as champion having to not having a chance to like lose the belt, but having to keep somebody out of the match. And I will always enjoy a Seth Rollins versus John Cena match. So
yeah, I will never complain about one of those. I hope I never have to complain about one of those. I also appreciated that with Stephanie there being like, I can do whatever I want. Shane's not here to tell me not to do anything. And then they tease adding 2 more people to the match, and they've got the draft coming with, surprise call-ups or returns or whatever. I'm like, are they building to Elimination Chamber? Like at Battleground? What's happening? Since Stephanie, in storyline created Elimination Chamber. So it's good to get, your brain kind of whirring there and starting to think of all the things they could be doing with it. But, it's not like disappointing because they didn't do that. It was just like, oh, is this what they're doing? So they can like de-emphasize Roman in the match. But, it's just a couple hours of mental gymnastics, basically, because then Cena didn't make it. And you're like, well, if they're not getting to 5 people, they're certainly not getting to 6.
Yeah, I definitely thought the exact same thing about the Elimination Chamber. And I will tell you what, even after Cena lost, I thought there was a slight chance, because I'm a Mark, that AJ was still going to win. I know that sounds weird, but I almost got the feeling they were going to put Cena in a match with the club and Styles in the 4-way. But that obviously didn't happen. But there was a part of me that also, they didn't get me even after Cena had lost to be like, well, they're clearly both going to lose. So I thought they did a good job of giving you 2 guys who could legitimately beat the 2 guys they were facing, and were big enough stars that you could throw them into a match like this and not have it be weird at all.
Yeah, I mean, it was possible that Styles won with the same kind of cheap tactics that allowed Seth to beat Cena. And then Cena can complain that, Styles can't do anything without the club. And then Cena is, if Cena can beat both of the club members at the same time with one arm tied behind his back, blindfolded or whatever, then, he also gets to be in it, because you've got a few weeks before Battleground. So, like, attempt number 2 with John Cena would not be anything new. It wouldn't be a surprise or, like, a bad thing either. But looks like they're just using this story to fuel the other story of Cena and AJ, which is great, because I wish more things happened in an interconnected WWE universe. They do not happen like that often enough. Everything is so separate, and everyone forgets about everyone else's existence except their own and whoever they're feuding with. So it was cool to have, worlds collide briefly and then break back apart to do their own thing.
Yeah, and I think there are a lot of faults with the Attitude Era, but one of the things that the Attitude Era did best was make you feel like they all worked at the same company and talked to each other backstage.
Yes.
And it's really nice to have that come back.
There are a lot of issues with the Attitude Era. Is one of the most understated things I think has ever been said.
We could have an entire podcast of my top 100 least favorite things about the Attitude Era.
Oh God, let's never do that.
That's one of the 2 things I liked about the Attitude Era. That and no, it's actually just that. I had to think for a second. There's nothing else I like about the Attitude Era other than the expanded universe feel. For instance, the women's matches during the Attitude Era.
Nope. Just moving on. I don't even want to discuss that era. Let's just...
Well, the reason I said that is because I thought that this tag team match, the match between Sasha, Paige, and Charlotte and Dana, was very, very good. I was really shocked at how much I enjoyed this match.
Yeah, it was good to see Sasha back, and she's added some striking to her repertoire, which is nice. I've always noticed that she's just kind of, tried to submit people to death repeatedly in different ways. So that forearm's been nice, the way she's hitting people with it. You know, the announcers are really reacting to it. Paige didn't immediately turn on Sasha or anything, so that's great. It's so bad. Paige has turned so much that I have been beaten down into that. Like, as optimistic and, you know, non-cynical as I am about a lot of this, I'm sitting there like, oh my god, Paige is gonna just like punch Sasha in the back of the head, isn't she? She's gonna punch Sasha in the back of the head and be like, stop cutting in line.
I also have to commend Dana Brooke for just selling everything Sasha threw at her. When she did the sell for the bank statement, she just goes perfectly straight and then just flaps down. It was almost like a Kurt Angle moonsault in its just like simplicity. That was her best match on the main roster by a very wide margin. I went from being worried about her because she's not a great worker, the Enzo to Charlotte's Big Cass in terms of taking the heat, and I was worried she wouldn't even be able to do that.
See, I mean, she's got progress to make in the ring, but I think she might understand wrestling as well as almost anyone on that roster.
Yes, that's definite. I know the rules.
I mean, yes, she knows the rules, and she will remind you. But she knows how to sell. Fantastic banter. Just great banter out of Dana Brooke. It's great. She seems to get what her purpose is, no matter like what role she is in, whether she's in the outside or she's in a tag match or she's in a singles match. Like, there's just this innate understanding of like what she is supposed to be, and the rest of it is, it's taking some time to catch up, but you know, it's there. It's there enough that she's on the main roster and she's doing well and she's entertaining. But like, when she hits her full potential and on, you know, both sides of what you're supposed to do as a wrestler, like, she's really going to be special.
Yeah, I totally agree. She was her and the guy in the next match, actually, Titus, were the two people that impressed me the most last night. Titus, as angry, I'm gonna just hurt you, Titus, is so the Rusev really brings out the best in everybody, but for Titus especially, I feel like their dynamic really works for Titus, because without Rusev constantly egging him on, he would come off as more heelish, I guess, because he's just going after Rusev. But every time, because Rusev has that weird lovable thing to him, at least for me, that sometimes when he's getting like really like when John Cena was being a jerk, I was like, oh, it's kind of, you're being a jerk to, you know, a guy who's also a jerk, but you're being a heel here. There's no argument that Titus O'Neil is being a heel with Rusev.
Well, to be fair, that was Rusev's face run. You know, when he was just trying to promote his country and his love of life and his way of life.
Yeah, exactly. Where with Titus, it's just like, no, Rusev is a real jerk to him, and he tries to beat the crap out of Rusev every time he sees him.
It's great. I wasn't sure if they were going to do another match between these guys, but I like this like amped up version of Titus, and I assume that he's going to be too focused on just beating the shit out of Rusev to actually beat him, which will kind of be the downfall and lead to Rusev, you know, like roasting him even further. But that's fine too. Heels don't need to lose every feud. No. And as long as he keeps the title at the end, I will be very interested to see who ends up taking the belt off of Rusev. What is it, 7 years from now? But this has been a pretty good start to his run. I have never looked forward to a Titus O'Neil match. I kind of was interested last month. I am actively interested to see what they do with Titus, because I don't think he's going to win, but I wonder if they're going to give him the major push he seemingly deserves, and also if they're going to incorporate suspension at some point as part of the like building him into, you know how they give you interviews with the actual people to make you care about them and give their real name. That's basically what I see them doing with Titus, if they like what they've seen from this feud, because this feels like a pilot feud for him. Like, can you do this? Oh, you can. Cool. Here's another feud. Yeah, it's his first like legitimate singles push since he had that little run in NXT.
Yes, exactly.
So yeah, I think they're trying to see what they're doing with that, and he's managed to translate, the intensity of his hot tags, the last run with the primetime players, into singles competition. And like you said, if he goes overboard with it, then he's a heel. But as long as you set up the context, then he's justified, and you're good.
Yeah. The next match of the night was Seth Rollins versus John Cena in a usually really good John Cena-Seth Rollins match. It not surprisingly ended with the club interfering. I love the non-interference finish. I know people hate it. The I guess you would call it a hard distraction finish, where you actually get close to the guy. You don't just turn on the music and go, "Oh my god," and then get rolled up. But where you actually have the guys come down and do the "we're not touching you," jump in the ring, get you to come. I think if you're going to insist on doing a distraction finish, that's really the only way you can do it in a match like this, where Seth ends up winning because he hit him with the pedigree and was very competitive for most of the match, but probably wouldn't have won or might not have won without the club interfering. I also hope that this leads to some sort of not quite New Day-esque friendship, but a partnership with the club in passing, where, we both hate these people, so let's, beat the crap out of them like they did at the end of the episode. I loved the end of the episode.
I don't want Seth Rollins to get too friendly with the club, but only because I'm fantasy booking the eventual reunion of the Shield to put down the club.
Yeah, that's nice. That's good eats right there.
That's the stuff. So an alarm went off in my head where it's like, whoa. He's saying things that contradict the thing you want.
No, it's understandable. I am also very impressed with Seth Rollins' ability to make me love hating him so much. He's just it's magisterial how good he is at just all of the little bits of being in the ring and making you hate him. But every time he goes for that sunset flip powerbomb, does your heart sink as much as mine?
Yeah, I'm gonna get used to it eventually, but I'm sure he's gonna play it up a little bit with ooh, that was a rough landing for a little bit.
Yeah, I just be careful. I don't know actually when this segment came in, but it feels it came in during this period, so correct me if I'm wrong if you feel like it was later, but I thought that after this match, the show really started to pick up speed, because I feel like in the beginning of this show, the opening segment was just long, because it's the opening segment, and Titus and Rusev that ending was weird, and then the Seth John ending was kind of, I don't want to say anticlimactic, but it didn't get as much heat as I thought it was going to. But then we were joined by The Miz, Maurice, and Kane, and I was happy with the first 3 or 4 segments of the episode. But man, seeing Kane and The Miz in the same room, that just perked up my heart so much.
Exchanging movie credits too.
I also like Kane as a character who has an encyclopedic knowledge of the rulebook.
Mm-hmm. They don't invoke that 30-day thing often enough. I mean, for various reasons, but back in the day, that means they would have had to put the Divas title on the line all the time, and then people might have cared about it. You can't have that.
Ugh, gross.
So I'm glad that era's over with Charlotte. Charlotte's been on 14 pay-per-views in a row or something, and fought for or defended the title on a whole bunch of them. So that's good. But moving on, yeah, I'm glad that they invoke that, because Miz disappearing is kind of fun. Just assuming he could disappear for a movie, have the belt, come back, and not actually be champion.
And we'll talk about the match later, but I thought it was a totally serviceable match for Kane at almost 50. I can watch The Miz wrestle I wouldn't want to watch him wrestle a broom, but
I'd like to see him taunt a broom.
Yeah, I did definitely think that interaction, and I also am thinking more and more that they might keep Kane on as a recurring character on the show. He'll be on one of the two, because he's backstage. Why wouldn't you just put him on TV?
And it makes sense anyway if you're splitting the roster. I was looking at the page today. There are like 80 people listed on the Superstars page, and a few of them are announcers for some reason, and some of them are part-timers. Like The Rock is still listed, but there's a whole lot of people, and you're splitting up one into two shows. So you do, having a guy like Kane around isn't bad. I don't think they're going to put another title on him or anything, but Kane showing up for a match every now and then and Pyro going off is really not like a terrible thing.
Yeah, and I'd also be fine with him, and I said this when he first came back, I'd be fine with him being an authority figure of some sort, especially on SmackDown as like an assistant. I don't know if I want him to be like heel authority figure, but I think he's one of the best wrestling actors, if that makes sense, that they have.
Oh yeah.
And I just enjoy him being on camera. I think he's a really genuinely funny guy, and he makes me laugh and happy to see him on TV.
Yeah, having him like sucking up to whoever is in charge would be pretty funny, especially because they, regardless of which McMahon it is, they're not really going to want him there.
Yeah, exactly. our things that have happened in our past.
Yeah, that's one way to put it, Kane.
I think I actually said that out loud. Oh, really, Kane? That's how you're going to put it?
Well, we're in the PG era now, so...
Speaking of which, a lot of dick jokes tonight.
Good show. Good show with lots of dick jokes.
Yeah, because I mean, the Enzo Cass entire
the whole segment
of just dick. It was a 5 to 10 minute dick joke, from beginning to end, because they, that jobber match was a jobber of a jobber match.
Yeah, did they even introduce who that was?
No, not at all.
That's the best kind of jobber match.
We don't. I wasn't even sure if did Cass actually get tagged in, or did Cass just come in, kick the dude, and then help Enzo with the rocket launcher?
I mean, all I remember is saying "don't call it that" like 3 times when they said "shakalaka" after Bada Boom. What the fuck? Okay, just let's talk about that for a second. What the fuck?
Well, I don't know if you know, but Enzo and Cass are 90s kids.
Just the Bada Boom is great. That's good. It's plenty. Fifth Element came out in the 90s. They said Big Bada Boom. If you really want to do it, that's great. If you really need some kind of 90s connection, please remove the shakalaka from that move. Please.
I think they will. I hope so.
You know what? It's not even that it's bad, because like, if Enzo said it, I could deal with it.
Yeah, of course.
Like, I might be like, oh, that's weird or whatever, but he would, he'd put the right spin on it and it'd sound good coming out of his mouth. Michael Cole saying "Bada Boom Shakalaka" just makes me want to bury myself in a deep hole where I will hear nothing ever again.
Yeah.
And I don't even mind Michael Cole that much. It's just one of those things where I'm like, dear God, do not use those words in that order, or any order.
Yeah, it reminds me of there's a 30 Rock episode where one of the characters, Twofer and Tracy Morgan's character, get into an argument about using the N-word, and throughout the episode, Tracy Morgan's character can say it no problem, and then Twofer's character, the character Twofer says it, and there's like a record scratch, and it's like, it's so offensive when you say it. That's how I feel about Michael Cole saying that. It's just like, oh God, you're ruining this, and you're making me hate this word, you and anybody who thought this was a good idea. Yeah.
Stop saying it, Mike. Stop saying it.
Byron makes me uncomfortable saying it. No one should say it.
Yeah, just don't. Nobody, please. I don't know. Maybe they'll go on SmackDown and Mauro Ranallo will say it, and all of a sudden it'll be like, hey, it's cool now.
Oh yeah, that's how it's supposed to sound. Or like Corey Graves will say it in that sarcastic Corey Graves way. And I'm like, oh, I get it. I'm so happy to see that the Social Outcasts are back.
Oh, I love the Social Outcasts so much.
Yeah, they had that special type of dumb humor where it's so dumb it's kind of smart. I like also Curtis Axel is a special case, but the Heath Slater and Bo Dallas's willingness to run full speed into stupid is Bo Dallas's, man, that guy has a career as the best possible version of Santino Marella in terms of just that like dumbass comedy character who can actually wrestle.
Do you remember when they made him like super earnest and serious at NXT?
Yes.
Like before he became NXT champion, and then everyone hated him as champion. So like I love the origin story for it, where it's like, no, we want him to be like the next big babyface thing, and everyone's like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
A, it's not what babyfaces look like, and B, really?
Yeah, and then they just ran with it, and so he thought, him thinking he was a babyface, like the ultimate version of that, where you are a heel because you think you're good. Oh, it's just perfect. And he, the things he says are so great, and the way he delivers it, even just that little thing on Monday where he's like, you better believe it. Like, with the conviction that he says it with and how quickly he rattles it off, it's a little thing, but it's so good.
Oh, his commitment to the character being oblivious to how much of a heel he is it's not quite Dario Cueto character work, but it's good. It's real good. I am actually also excited in a way that I never thought I would be for a Social Outcasts Enzo Big Cass match at presumably Battleground. I also like that the faces have the advantage physically in a 2-on-2 match because of Big Cass, but it's 3-on-2, so they can make fun of the Social Outcasts without coming off as heelish, because they'll always be at a disadvantage structurally in terms of the fight that they're having.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, Cass is still, I think if you stack Slater and Bo on top of each other and put a very large trench coat on them, Cass would still tower above them.
Oh yeah.
Although now I want to see that. I want them to try and introduce Curtis Axel to say he found a new tag team partner, and it's just those two on each other's shoulders. See Slater on Bo Dallas' shoulders with a giant trench coat and a hat.
I don't know if there's like a Make-A-Wish for 30-year-old dudes who record wrestling podcasts
who are also not terminal. Where are you going with this?
I wish there were not terminal. Like get married. I just want them to make my wish come true. I
think you just have to set up a. I think you have to change your entire registry to just be donations for that.
I will do that. You're a genius, because we already had issues with our registry. So
yeah, you've already got like spoons and a blender and shit. So just make everyone give you money for that.
Yeah, that's cheap. I'm gonna talk to the fiance about that. I'm sure it'll go over well.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
Sorry, I was gonna go in a different direction with this. So scratch. I also wonder, and we'll get to the Wyatts and the New Day later, but how many of these teams that Big Cass and Enzo will have to go through before they get to whoever's champion?
This is a cop-out. But I don't want to answer this question until we know what the tag team situation looks like post-draft.
That's fair.
Only because I'm going to give like a long, I hope, thoughtful answer, and then it'll be like, oh, shit.
Oh. Yeah, I am legitimately nervous, and we'll talk about the draft when the draft comes up, but the splitting teams, I don't want them to do well, this team's super popular, let's split them up to see what happens type of thing that they occasionally do. Hopefully they make it through. And this is actually something that reminds me, the draft reminds me of Summer Rae. You mentioning that you were disappointed in the Summer Rae Becky match.
There was no match. There was no match.
Yeah, only that there was no match, but that was an awesome Becky moment.
Oh, that was great, especially because Natalya got stuck on her one talking point, and like the tape got stuck. And they didn't really know what to do, if they should fast forward or rewind it or skip to the next track. So Becky just punching her in the mush really, really helped end that. Man, I love Natalya in the ring. I really do. But like they need to give her more talking points, because I feel like she focuses on one and that's it. So like whatever question you ask her while she's on commentary, she's going to say the same exact thing with like one or two words flipped around in the order.
Yeah.
She answered 3 different questions with the same answer. Where like all she had to do was like, I'm tired of being the women's division mom. I'm tired of being stepped on, and I'm gonna hit some people in the face.
Yeah, and she went, I'm tired of being stepped on as the mom of the Divas division. And you're like, but you were supposed to break that out and tell the story in 3 parts?
Yeah.
But I feel like she's so nervous because she gets to talk so rarely that it all just comes out, and they're just like, Natalya, we had planned this out. Becky, punch her in the face.
And I really do like Natalya, and I'm excited for this feud, and not just because Becky jumped over the table onto the chair to just whack her repeatedly in the head. I'm excited to see them wrestle.
Yes. Those are gonna be great.
So that's fine. Like in the end, all will be forgiven about whatever awkward commentary Natalya does. This will be fine, but they really should like set up a situation where Renee Young pulls each and every word out of Natalya's mouth, possibly by saying a lot of them herself, or like they let Becky do that,
Yes.
Just something to really help out, because the feud's going to be fine. The match should be really good, but like that is a better angle for this than put her on commentary and have all 3 of them ask her the same exact question.
Yeah, they really need to work on their commentary, speaking to one person about a feud. Because they do it so much. You figure they'd get decent at it, but...
they do it when, like, Kevin Owens is there or whatever, and then he's awesome.
Yeah, I was going to say, is they have a couple of guys that can do... Dean Ambrose is surprisingly good at it, but they usually have him, I feel like, more on SmackDown. Though that'll change now that he's the world... the WWE champion at the WWE World Heavyweight Champion.
Or will it?
Oh, no.
Oh, they weren't calling him the World Heavyweight Champion.
Yeah, they were just calling him the WWE champion. But yeah, when you have somebody like Natalya, you got to do it better. And Michael Cole can interview people. I've seen him do it. He's not great at it. It's scripted for the most part, but he can actually get you to say stuff and frame it for you. And This was just like, I don't like her. She deserves it. I don't want any more miscommunication. Okay, that's it.
It's just ugly. Natty, I know you can do this.
Yeah, especially when you juxtapose it with like Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn, who have they do the same thing essentially. I'm mad at you for making this personal. No, it wasn't personal until you made it personal. Like that's all they talk about. But there's such an like a actual, I don't want to say storyline to it because that seems obvious, but there's an actual like gravitas to what they're saying. It's not just like Natalya could be the idea that she's just, oh, I'm tired of being the Divas mother, the mom of the Divas, doesn't really give us enough like pathos, I guess it would be, to be like, man, it really sucks that you had to deal with that and you got held down basically because you were too nice to everybody involved. They don't tell you that. They're just kind of like, oh, she attacked Becky and is angry. They have a potential to be like when Ryback turned on John Cena and they just went to the way John Cena reacted to Ryback turning on him. And it's just, yeah, I just didn't. I am excited about this match at Battleground. I'm assuming it's going to be at Battleground because they're both really good workers, but Becky's going to have to do the heavy lifting for the promos going forward, I'm pretty sure. Which,
thankfully, Becky is great at promos.
Oh, yeah.
Or in Becky's speech, Becky is fire at promos.
I think she's the best talker in the women's division, right?
I think so, yeah. She is the most sincere feeling with everything that she says, which I think is how she ended up in these feuds where everyone keeps turning on her, because it really helps you connect to her even more. That she seems the most real, you know?
Yeah.
So you can
she's
really
basically Sting. That helps.
Yeah. So it helps people connect to her, and she does a great job with it. And she seems real on Twitter, and the post Raw promos that they show on like YouTube or whatever. Those are, she's always great in those. So I feel like a lot of it's going to have to come there, but hopefully they'll keep giving them actual screen time on Raw. That will, I don't know, someone will go over more than one talking point with Natalya.
Yeah. So yeah, like I said, after this segment, which was surprising too. I thought they did a really good job. I was not expecting Becky to just go after Natalya for a bunch of different reasons. A, they don't do that, and B, she's a babyface, but it was totally warranted. I think my favorite segment of the night might have been the next one, which was the highlight reel with Chris Jericho, Owens, and Zayn. Though I'm weird. I don't like flippy spinnies. And while I appreciate and do enjoy Sami Zayn in a way other people of that ilk I'm not as high on, like, I think he's great. I think he's one of the 5 best workers in the company. I don't root for him. I root for Kevin Owens more in this situation, weirdly. And promos like this really kind of enforce that for me, that Owens is so, like, I engage with Owens in a way I just can't with Zayn. He just comes off as kind of entitled to me in a way that Owens is, of course, entitled because he's a heel, but he also is willing to go out there and grab the brass ring, where I think Sammy is so, at least the character, so consumed with his hatred for Kevin Owens, he can't see the forest from the trees.
I think that's what makes it work, though. That this isn't as clear cut in a lot of it. It wouldn't work as well if Sammy was always 100% in the right.
Yes.
And Kevin Owens is the best kind of heel where he's right, but man, he is just a dick.
Yes.
So then, even when he's wrong, he is so assured of his rightness because he is so often right, and then he's just even more of a dick because he is both wrong and acting that way. I mean, even in the promo on the highlight reel, like, there was attention to detail he was leaving out, where he's correct that, like, yes, maybe Sami Zayn wasn't as happy for you as he was for himself that you got to WWE, but at the same time, the night you showed up, you powerbombed him into the apron. It's not like you gave him time to be happy for you or anything. You showed up, you hugged him, and you tried to murder him.
Yeah.
Like, you conveniently left out that part, and you're like, you're just mad that I took the title from you. It's like, yeah, there's some prefacing that you were missing there, Kevin.
And you also beat me so badly in the title match that I had to stop it.
Yeah. Yeah, this wasn't like, you're just upset that I happen to be the one who took it from you. It's like, again, you tried to murder me.
Yeah, it's a more extreme version of actually what they were doing with Samoa Joe and Finn, where Samoa Joe was kind of right. Finn should have given him a title shot. And the fact that he didn't push for it wasn't cool, considering he had worked with him on the tag team tournament and stuff like that. This is more, you should have been nicer to me. I'm mad at you. No, I'm mad at you. But with Sammy being so, like, I just want to say it. I didn't like him during that promo. Not like I thought his performance was bad. I found him to be, as a character, unlikable. I don't know if did you feel the same way, or did you just think he was mildly wrong?
I don't know. Like I said, I think Owens was leaving important details out that make Sammy sound bad to people who don't remember or don't know all the details, which is like what Kevin Owens, is fueled by, is saying just the right things to make it so that he is the guy who looks to be in the right. So I think it was more of an awkward situation where Owens did a great job of that. So it's not even that Sammy was wrong. It's just that Owens did a masterful job of making it seem like Sammy was the one who was wrong.
Yes, that might have been it. Also, the end of this segment was so beautiful. Even the way they shot it after the super kick, when they both gave Jericho the super kick for "drink it in, man," which you can feel him loading up for it. It's so good. That, and then they cut to the handheld of that, looking across both of them essentially, and they had that moment of like, we work together well, but I hate you. And I thought that was really cool, and it teased, because in reality, the best tag team in the company is Steen Generico.
Yeah, someday Generico's helping orphans in Mexico, but someday those two will be a tag team, and it'll be tremendous, especially if they still hate each other at that point. Like, they haven't really put their differences aside. They just have to pretend they have.
Yeah, they give them the old, like, Lucha Underground special where they're like, you hate each other, be a tag team. Which is my favorite Lucha Underground special.
One second. What is that?
The ice cream truck.
Don't they know we're recording?
Yeah, I definitely look forward to them as a tag team. But that's months away. What we had last night was, as we mentioned earlier in the episode, from the promo that they cut, Kane and The Miz had a tag team match, not a tag team match, an Intercontinental Championship match to fulfill Miz's requirement for the monthly defense. It was an okay match. It wasn't anything to write home about, but it was also not anything I would write in to complain about. And the ending had me for a second, both for Miz's character and for the dynamic between him and Maurice. I don't think the execution was perfect, but I did like where they went with it.
I mean, I don't think the execution was supposed to be perfect. Like, Kane was nowhere near her. He literally just said something to her, and she was like, "Oh no, my legs," and just fell down. Because Kane apparently has the power to just push people off the apron with his voice. Yeah, with his demonic hell voice.
If you don't remember the time that Eve just like had to deal with him and she just fell over, that's what I always think of when I think of Kane. Just Eve, just like, oh god, just falling over.
At first, I thought that, Maurice was going to pretend that she was really hurt for like a while, and like that would become part of the feud. And she'd be like, he hit me, and it was unnecessary. Just stuff like that. But it was even funnier when she just goes backstage and Miz is still like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. And she's like, I'm just acting, man. It's acting. And
it was beautiful because he loved her more in that moment than he had ever loved her before. And he clearly had loved her a great deal leading up to that.
Their love disgusts me.
In the best possible way.
It's like, you two beautiful people, you love each other. What's wrong with you?
Ew, gross. I have to say that the next match between Cruz and Cesaro and Sheamus and Del Rio, despite involving Cesaro and Del Rio, who are two of my favorites, was only really worth the CCC chant after Alberto Del Rio went after Sheamus.
Yeah, that match was like, it was the wrong time of night where I'm kind of like, oh, guys, come on. Like, I want to see the main event. Please don't do this.
Exactly. Like, you got to give us a comedy segment. That's just something.
And I like everyone in that match. It's just it's one of those things that it didn't click.
Yeah, except for the Del Rio looked pretty good, and I do like where they're going with him as I hope they go to the Lucha Underground face version of Del Rio, where he's knows how great he is, but is still a proud person who doesn't take the easy way out, but is totally like up his own ass.
Yeah, I mean, I like Spit's Hot Fire Del Rio. I would really like to get back to that character. The crowd's into him.
Yes.
The C chants have been very loud lately, and the problem with Del Rio was always that no one was giving him any attention whatsoever. But the most noise in that match occurred because of Del Rio.
Yeah, I was also impressed with Cruz, and I'm not surprised because he's incredibly freakishly strong. But Cruz being able to do the spin out powerbomb.
Yeah, I mean, Sheamus, lifting Sheamus up that second time, it's like, that's entirely just Cruz,
Oh, totally. You can tell. That's what was so impressive to me. Like, ooh, he's not helping at all.
Yeah, Sheamus is a big boy, so that was really cool.
Yeah, that was. I would like to see more Cesaro, Del Rio, and more. I would actually be fine with any combination of the four, just not two of them together against the others.
Yeah, don't put them in one match again, guys.
Yeah. My favorite segment of the night was the Jericho highlight reel. My second favorite segment of the night. Yes,
no,
Mark.
no,
my rank.
No, The ice cream truck sounds like it's playing us into a segment.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And now I've interrupted it and it's been ruined, but...
Nothing like diegetic noise to really move your podcast forward. The New Day Wyatt family segment. You didn't like it?
I'm laughing.
Oh, okay. I think you're like, No, it was great, Mark.
Oh, so good. I'm so excited for these guys.
Yeah, it was also one of the first times that, I know this is going to sound silly because it's been champions for so long, where the New Day felt like they're really fixture. That they're able, like, they've messed with the vaudevillains, whatever, but this was the first time they got that, like, Triple H, the DX rub, where they're making fun of another team, which is, like, how you're established as one of the big deals in the company when you can go out and make fun of one of the other stables you're feuding with by, like, dressing up as them. It's this weird rite of passage. And Big E holding the unicorn horns. That's an image I'm never gonna let go of, nor do I want to. And I'll tell you what, Xavier Woods being uncomfortable with the whole thing while Kofi and Big E were just living it up was the most interesting character thing they've done basically since they started.
Yeah, I can't tell if he is, like, under the Wyatt's thrall or slowly becoming under their thrall, or if he is the only one aware of what's happening, where he's like, guys, we're a goofy comedy tag team, and, like, we win matches, but we're a goofy comedy tag team. These dudes are, like, literally the devil. Like, shit is gonna happen. We are in deep shit.
Yeah, I definitely got that vibe of him just being... I don't think he's under their spell. I think Bray Bray looked great relative to them. Kofi also emerging as what a lot of us Kofiites used to feel like he could have been when he was feuding with Randy Orton. Like, he's turned into that, but for the New Day, where he's this super talented, confident guy who's now been in the company for so long that nothing really phases him. And I think that's an interesting dynamic, especially with Woods, because Big E's Big E. Big E ain't give a fuck. Like, Big E is just gonna hang out and have a good time and suplex people. So, like, Xavier Woods is the one that really has something at stake, and I definitely think it's him going, guys, we are way above, like, our heads are not above this water.
They're gonna drown in Wyatt in the bayou.
Did you have anything else you wanted to add for that segment other than...
No, I'm just excited to see it moving along, and they're doing a good job, and it's always nice to feel good about something the Wyatts are in. Yeah,
this was definitely... This is the best Bray's looked in a while in terms of other than face spray, that brief face spray moment where he, like, turned into being able to summon Roman Reigns spears.
Someday we'll get back to that guy, because that might be the best version of Bray, and yeah. I understand why they're not doing it, because, like, they're sometimes thin on heels anyway. And going to a brand split, you can't really be like, we need to turn one of our best heels into a face. Like, they've got plenty of faces.
Yes, and I'm also interested to see if they're the ones that take the titles off of the New Day, because and we talked about this last week when this whole thing started, but they're the ones that make the most sense to be transitional champions. So I wonder how quickly they're going to have them get into a title match, or if they're going to have them 3-on-3 or 2-on-2 and then 3-on-3 at, let's say, SummerSlam. But I think the matches will actually be the best part of this entire feud. So that's to me the most exciting thing.
That's saying something, because we're into this build.
Yeah. And then the final match of the night was Dean versus AJ for a chance at the Fatal 5-Way, which at that point would have only been a Fatal 4-Way match. I liked this match a great deal, as is almost always the case. I am not hard to please when it comes to wrestling.
Shocked that we liked an AJ Styles versus Dean Ambrose match. That was the main event of a show.
And I thought that is a match I would definitely love to see on a bigger stage.
Yes.
which is cool because you don't know when you first see a partnership, not a partnership, two guys working together that aren't like John Cena and AJ Styles, where you've just seen them so many times. You're like, of course, this is going to be awesome. Like, to actually see Dean's style work with AJ's style, and AJ's a chameleon, so it's not surprising he works with everybody's style. But I definitely thought the big roughhouse guy, which is basically what Dean Ambrose is, works really well with the like Pitbull style of AJ Styles.
It's good. And yeah, I would like to see. Yeah, that was really smart. Good commentary, Mark. It's good. Yeah, I'd like to see more. You know, this was a fun teaser of things to come. And you know, maybe they don't end up on the same show. Maybe they do. You know, at the draft. So I guess we'll have to see. But it's, you know, they'll probably do the draft every year or whatever anyway, and people will switch around. So I'm sure we'll get more of this in our lives at some point.
Oh yeah, I would be surprised if we didn't have the draft every year, like you said, and B, we're gonna get more of this because these are the stars of the future. This was a nice quote unquote new era episode. I felt like,
yeah,
where the John Cena is the real, like John Cena and Kane are, and maybe the Miz are the three real leftovers from that previous generation that are still active and doing stuff, at least in this episode. And I like that this felt like you're getting a whole new world basically, and Seth was great on commentary.
Seth is always great on commentary. He's so good at making sure everyone is over, like with whatever he's saying. He does such a good job of that. And it was nice to see him remember that he doesn't hate Ambrose as much as he tells people he hates Ambrose, because that will be important at a later date. In
Mark's fantasy world.
No, it's not even a fantasy world thing. It's just the logical step of, after these guys all fight, that moves you that one step closer to having a reunion. And it doesn't have to be anytime soon. It's just like once they've worked out, you know, this isn't Owens Zayn where they will always be at odds even when they're working together.
Yes, that's true. They're not destined to do this forever.
Yeah,
Seth
like
broke the covenant of their friendship, and they may never trust each other again. But it's not, like you said, they're not like yin and yang, opposites attract type of thing.
Yeah, they could reform in a situation where they have to, and then they could split amicably, and like that phase of their relationship will be finally put to rest. So who knows when that happens? But like I think it's an important step to keep it alive that Seth hates Ambrose, but also doesn't really hate Ambrose in the way that he says he does. I mean, he did recruit him for the Shield, according to Seth Rollins. So
yeah, I do like that dynamic too of Seth being like, I know he's been doing it forever, but once Seth lets go of him being the architect of the Shield, I think that's the dynamic that is the most interesting with the three of them, is that Seth, the character, genuinely feels like he believes he's the reason for the Shield's success, and he has to get over himself for them to ever be able to reunite. So yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying in terms of like them getting one step closer, him realizing he doesn't hate Dean Ambrose, he hates that Dean Ambrose represents him not being the entire reason the Shield was successful, bothers him more, I feel like.
Yeah, I agree with that. And you know, at some point when Roman beats Seth, and Dean beats Seth in something besides a Money in the Bank cash in that he had, you know, he can complain about, like the way it was done. That'll probably help, which again is why this isn't going to happen overnight, but it's all part of an important process. So much of what WWE is doing revolves around the formation of the Shield, the breakup of the Shield, you know, the eventual reformation of the Shield. So, you know, it's just this constant thread, and they're just going to keep pulling on it.
Yeah, and they have it for the next. They have Rock, Austin, Triple H completely naturally with a built-in storyline. It's a pretty good place to be.
Yeah, especially now they're in a world where they're like, also, let's get AJ Styles.
I love wrestling. I love WWE and wrestling in general, just so dang much. Did you have anything else you wanted to add about this week's episode of Raw?
No, let's jump to NXT.
NXT and Oni. Did I pronounce that right?
Yeah, Oni Lorcan.
Yeah. Fun starting match. It was fun.
Yeah.
I'm really annoyed Ty Dillinger lost again, but there are worse things.
It also feels like at this point they're just playing with the fact that the crowd is dying for Ty Dillinger to do things.
Yeah, desperately. Holy crap.
So, I mean, they have to be careful with who they put him up against because, Oni Lorcan is someone they're going to want to push at some point. And you don't want to have the same guys face Dillinger repeatedly because it's just you're going to get those crazy reactions where everyone's booing whoever beats Ty repeatedly.
Yeah, totally. They have to actually give you the Daniel Bryan build of having him lose to the right people that are annoying, but not detrimental to their careers.
Yeah, so losing to Oni Lorcan when he got a jobber entrance is a good way to do it. Because, he's got a name now, but he's not at that, fully formed part where you're really pushing him. And maybe you can actually start pushing him based on this, but do it away from Dillinger.
Yes. So, that match was what it was. Can we one day... I have a friend who's very into wrestling and works at a J. Crew as a personal shopper. So he's very involved in fashion. I want to have him come on one day and critique whatever the hell it was that Shinsuke Nakamura was wearing this week.
That outfit was even more amazing when he stood up, because the pants were also very loud. Shoes were loud. Everything was loud.
The socks, the whole show. Here's a question. On the dumbest shit you could do in wrestling, where does pick a fight Shinsuke Nakamura? Is that before or after getting involved in a brawl for all with Vader? When he's just watched the Will Ospreay Ricochet match.
I think it's right after get into a shoot boxing match with what's his face there?
Brock Lesnar.
No. Oh God, what is his name? The dude from the 90s, to go back to it. He had with Billy Gunn's brother.
Bart Gunn?
Yeah, when they had the boxing match and got knocked out.
Butterbean.
Yeah, with Butterbean. I think that is probably still the stupidest thing that you can do.
Actually, no, I have one that's better.
Oh boy.
Make direct eye contact with Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, also terrible, because he might just eat you.
Yeah, with his mind, he'll just freeze you, and then he comes over and he eats you like a bear.
He will smell you to make sure that you are not a vegetable, and if you are not a vegetable, it's over. It's over. You will be consumed whole.
Yeah, I just... Oh, God. What a dummy. What a dummy. Whichever... Blake Murphy? Is that his name? Is his name Blake Murphy?
You just combine them. It's Buddy Murphy and Wesley Blake?
Okay.
I think.
Yeah, that match is hilarious.
The Australian one is the one who said it, because Nakamura ended it with mate.
Yes, that's right. You're right. But yeah, that segment was great. The match we'll get to was also pretty fun, all things considered.
It's just a dude getting kicked around for 2 minutes before an entire crowd yelled Kinshasa at him.
Yep. Which is pretty much going to be what happens. They're doing Finn next week, right?
Not next week. 3 weeks from last week, so 2 weeks, in 2 weeks.
Okay, so yeah, they're not doing it at Brooklyn, which leads me to believe they're doing
Samoa Joe versus Nakamura.
Which, dude, best bachelor party ever. I'm gonna have at least 5 or 6 of these, but this one's gonna be the best.
You have a lot of conversations with the fiance. You need to have, apparently.
Yeah, it's fine. She's fine. The Austin Aries. Speaking of backstage segments.
Oh my God, it was so great.
Yeah, I don't like him. Actually, both of the interviews they had, the Carmella and Alexa Bliss was great, and the Austin Aries was both great. Their backstage promos, Raw could learn a lot from just watching these backstage promos.
Well, the Raw's been doing better work lately, so
Much
I think
better.
they must have changed something. they might be letting people be a little more themselves, or they're doing a better job of understanding the character they are writing for. It's one of the two things, but it's all felt a lot more comfortable since WrestleMania.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I think there was a palpable, like, yeah, maybe we should bring back the, but I'll tell you who continues to surprise me, speaking of these backstage segments. No Way Jose.
I love him. I really do.
Again, it's one of those things where you're like, oh, this gimmick is so over the top, it'll never... And then they have a guy that can actually use it, and you get it. I mean, do I love that it's No Way Jose? Does it feel kind of retrograde, like, naming of a character? Sure. But he's not... That's not what his character is about. He just likes to have fun. Like... I
mean, New Day was kind of retrograde, too. Okay, not kind of. It was super retrograde, but they owned it, and now it's their own thing. And he seems to be doing the same thing.
That's the most important thing, and it's the same thing with Bo. Just own the character they give you, and if you own it enough, you'll either make it your own, and it'll be... Oh, No Way Jose, from a look and a talent perspective, definitely seems like he has it. His look is off the charts.
Yeah.
And he can cut good promos. He's not, like... Austin Aries good, but he's good. And he's just started. Like, I really was impressed with him in this promo, and him actually later in the night with that just fabulous dance sequence.
My favorite part about that dance sequence with Austin Aries is that it went on for like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, Austin Aries came out going, I'm going to punch this dude in the face. Like, that's what I'm going to do. That's the end result of this. And he didn't do it 10 seconds in or just be like, you taught me something. I'm a dick. And then punched him in the head. He had an entire dance sequence around the arena and then got up on the announce table and then decked him.
Yeah, that seemed to be everybody's favorite part about that is how long he drew it out. He earned that in a way you don't see guy. He put in the work for that segment to have maximum impact, because then he beat the crap out of No Way Jose.
Which is the first time we've seen No Way Jose take, like, any damage at all.
Yeah. Sorry for this transition, but speaking of damage, holy crap, that powerbomb.
Dude, whoever told Nia Jax to do a powerbomb and to do it the way she did, like, the closest thing to a Kevin Nash, like, spike powerbomb that you can do today. Because, you don't want to break anyone's neck.
And Liv Morgan just accordion folding on that?
Oh, yeah.
That girl has a future as somebody who just sells the crap out of Nia Jax.
I think there's a lot of people's future who's going to be selling the shit out of what Nia Jax does to them.
Yeah, that was that for what it was, which was a squash match. Nia has had as rapid an improvement of anyone I can think of outside of Nikki Bella, and I feel like she always had the physical talent, but she's actually starting to understand you can actually hit people. And once she figured that out, she was gonna be good, and she's starting to... We talked about this after TakeOver. She's getting the psychology. Between getting the psychology and understanding you could actually, like, lean in on this stuff, she's just shut up to me as one of the top, especially in terms of potential, one of the top people in the women's division, period, both rosters.
Yeah, I think she is getting to the point where if she was drafted in July, it wouldn't be shocking. Mm-hmm. I mean, it wouldn't be shocking if she stayed either, but she's at that point where it's like, you could see them calling her up and being like, okay, like, we're gonna have you destroy everyone for a while until we're ready to unleash you on the main event of the women's scene.
Yeah. I'm also excited for Bayley, who had a match, just a fun little, I'm still the woman, I was gonna say the man, but no, I'm still the woman in this company. This is still
the face of NXT. Yeah,
the face of NXT. Exactly. And they're so deep with female talent. Not just this sounds bad, like female enhancement talent right now. I have a bunch of good hands that they're starting to, like, give actual stuff to. I am not worried in a way that you always are when all of the stars leave. I'm not worried because you look at Carmella, Alexa are definitely going to stay down for at least a little bit. I'm assuming. And they really seem like they're starting to get into character-wise where they need to be. And a lot of the people, Peyton Royce, Tessa Blanchard, they have a lot of good workers right now. The women's division in NXT is just capital G great.
There are more coming too. I mean, Aaliyah just showed up on TV. They have Ember Moon coming. I'm assuming shortly after these call-ups or after Brooklyn. They have Asuka. They have Daria Baronetto from Tough Enough, who they signed, who had that MMA background, and she's been working house shows in NXT for a long time. There's a ton of other people at the Performance Center. Like, a lot of what we've seen on NXT is them making sure their developmental model works. And on the men's side, there has been a lot of signings from elsewhere that has kind of interrupted that flow to a bit or given them more time to develop. But the women's side has not really been like that. Like, yes, they brought in Asuka, but that's it.
But I feel like the Asuka signing in particular is different. It is closer to like a Shinsuke signing than a obviously than like a Bobby Roode. The Asuka is built to be a star on every level. Same thing with Nakamura. Those are people that they're signing that they would sign regardless of whatever system they were doing. I totally agree with you, though. The men's division has had their development, I don't want to say like completely stunted, but it's definitely slowed down relative to the women's division, which feels like 5 years from now, it's just going to be like, they had this person, and this person, and this person. Like, we're going to look back at this era of women's wrestling, and the subsequent next 4 to 5 years, and just this, to me, is the start of the golden age of women's wrestling, especially in the WWE.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just excited to see all of it. And it feels like Bayley's coming up on her, she'll get her rematch against Asuka, and I don't know, that'll be that in Brooklyn, but that should be some goodbye.
Yes.
Let's not talk too much about Brooklyn yet, though, considering that we are still in June, the brands have not been split, and we have Lucha Underground to discuss.
Yes. Lucha Underground this week was... I'm gonna say something.
Oh boy.
Not my favorite episode of Lucha.
What?
I liked it, but we talked about this before the episode, and we'll talk about it at the end of talking about Lucha. I do not care about Rey Mysterio.
Ooh.
Sorry.
Yes.
Sorry.
Ooh.
I dislike him less than I dislike Finn, so you have that.
It's Rey Mysterio.
I really enjoy I know this isn't an intentional Black Panther ripoff, but the blatant Black Panther ripoff.
He got one of the Gift of the Gods medallions, which they restarted, Gift of the Gods, so they could do it again for Ultima Lucha. And man, they hotshotted that whole thing where it's just like tag match, two medallions for that one, and trios match, the 3 medallions there.
And and also the Masquerita Sagrada versus Daga match. Poor Masquerita Sagrada, just beat up real bad by, or not even beat up real bad, just attacked by Famous B. I hope this is a match at Ultima Lucha.
Yes.
That at Ultima Lucha would be cool.
Even if we get it at Penultima Lucha.
Yes. Yeah, which to me is Ultima. They're all Ultima Luchas.
Yeah.
In my heart. I do also look forward to... speaking of Ultimate Lucha, I like how they're setting up each match in the WrestleMania way, but they've already written all of what's going to happen, so they edit it in a way that makes perfect sense, as opposed to the WWE thing, which is that you have 30 minutes of content. Let's say you have an hour's worth of content between promos, matches, all of that for each WrestleMania match, and then you cut it down to this preview that's 3 minutes tops. It's like a movie trailer, obviously. Mm-hmm. This is them taking not nearly as much footage in terms of just the sheer quantity and turning it into like a really great segment on a TV show, which is just the advantage of being able to look at everything and then edit it in post, as opposed to having to throw everything out live. And I think as Lucha develops going forward, that's going to be their biggest advantage, is actually getting people who are not interested or haven't seen the show beforehand to come in and instantly, after watching a couple of episodes, understand in the lead up to Ultima Lucha, like, everything that's happening.
Yeah. Yeah, they do a great job of making you excited about pretty much whatever they're doing. There have been very few missteps in that regard.
Yeah. I am super excited, even though I've never seen her work. I'm really interested in the El Dragon Azteca match.
Yes, versus Black Lotus.
Yeah, that's just going to be cool. Like, it's just going to be a cool match with actual stakes to it, which is somebody's going to probably get murdered.
Those seem like high stakes.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that's going to push a really central story along, too, so excited about that.
And I do love Dario. Just... No, she really killed your mentor.
Not a lie.
Sorry.
Not a lie.
Yeah, I still don't know if he's lied. So...
Because even, like, he didn't... he said, okay, Dragon Azteca killed your parents, Black Lotus. And then he went to El Dragon Azteca Jr. and went, wow, she killed your mentor. Wow, that's pretty fucked up, huh?
Right?
So he's supplying all the ammunition. This is very much the, like, here's a knife, do something with this.
Sorry. Speaking of me wanting to stab, I hate Marty the Moth so much.
I love him so much. But no, I hate him. But I love hating him.
Killshot is the most awesome dude ever, though.
Well, we'll see about that. I'm still kind of...
I like his in-ring... I like that tall, lanky, like, able to put you in the thing where he did the walking handstand and then grabbed onto whoever it was his head and did the Hurricanrana with them, or the head scissors, whatever you want to call it. That stuff, that's why I like Angelico a lot. That if I'm going to deal with a flippy spinny, I want it to be a tall, skinny guy who is just, like, slapping the crap out of his thigh every time he kicks somebody in the face. Because it's so funny watching Killshot hit a dude and then Marty hit a dude, and Killshot sounds like there's a gun going off, and Marty sounds like a pillow just fell on another pillow. And Marty can really go. Killshot can. This match was the 3-on-3 match was one of those, like, all 6 of these guys can really work type of things, which is always fun. And what Lucha Underground does best is they have literally every person on the roster can go, like, on a real level, so they can just have these matches where they throw random people into not completely random, but relatively random people into tag team and 6 trios matches, and it works almost every time.
You know what I really appreciated about this episode was that all of these matchups where they seemingly threw random people in together had their own stories, so it wasn't clear who was going to win any of them.
Agreed, yeah.
It wasn't like you were just like, oh, obviously, like, these people are going to go over here and they're going to Ultima Lucha, they're going to win the Gift of Gods. You could make equally viable, reasoning, pro cons, whatever you want to talk about, for why each side should have won and what you could do from there. It was really great, and they did that in the women's match as well.
Yeah, the women's match, as I don't know if this actually made the initial recording for the first episode, but I have never cried while watching wrestling until I watched the Mariposa Sexy Star No Mas match. Like, really cried, like I was watching Leo McGarry die on the West Wing kind of cry, where you're just like, oh dude, that's
I know, that was the point.
Okay.
That is
All
the
right.
joke.jpg.
Okay. Just making sure. Eva Lise and Taya, what a great tag team.
A tag team that hates each other.
Yeah.
Great
But
tag team.
holy crap, can both of those performers really just give you everything. They're two of my favorite, and I said this last week, they're two of my favorite workers in the company. Full stop. Like, no qualification. They're just great.
Well, you're not a Lucha Underground announcer, so you don't need to qualify it.
They're just great. It's just awesome. It's so Taya is the best tag team partner Johnny Morrison's ever had. Sorry, Johnny Mundo has ever had, and that includes The Miz, who was great. They are. I like how she even incorporates his slow motion entrance now,
Yes.
like as her own thing. Yeah, this match was, the match itself was not the like greatest match in Lucha Underground history, but it was good, and the storylines were really, I like you said, anybody could have won that match and had it make total sense. I and you didn't know going in because of that, and I think that's another huge advantage Lucha has, is there's not this built-in, like, sure, Matanza's probably going to beat everybody, and Mil Muertes is probably going to beat most people. But outside of the, like, super end bosses like that, pretty much everybody else can beat anybody else on a given night.
Yeah, and it works fine. And that's why, earlier I said WWE could stand to have more of this, like, interconnected universe sort of thing. And maybe slimming down the roster will allow them to do that a little more easily. Because they don't have to figure out ways to make 80 people work together in a cohesive universe.
So many. If Marvel can do it, I don't understand.
Can they?
You can just draw it, and then they'll just do what you want them to. That's how wrestling works. You just tell somebody what you want them to do, and then they do it. It's exactly like comics. And the final segment of the night was...
We're gonna bring back something we haven't done yet with the two of us together on this podcast. We're gonna do questions.
Oh,
listener questions.
That was not the last segment I was talking about, though.
Oh, ugh.
Sorry, you were close. And I would prefer that to this Ricochet. Sure, he's a nice guy. Sorry.
Oh, we already talked about it.
No, we mentioned it. I want to really dig in on Prince Puma is not a great promo. He's great in the ring, but it's weird for me coming from WWE, and this is the one big difference between the WWE, is pretty much everybody given that top spot can cut a good to great promo. And Prince, I worry about, not him in Lucha Underground, because it's a completely different construct, but if he moves to WWE at some point, like, is he going to be better than this, like... And again, I hate Rey Mysterio at this point.
Leave Rey out of this.
I can't.
You're talking about Prince Puma. I will allay your fears slightly. Ricochet is a great heel.
Okay.
And I think he is better at being that character when it comes to having to speak, and whether it's in the ring or in a promo. Because his whole thing is that he is just way better than you, and he's super arrogant and handsome about it. So, it's like a natural fit. But here he's trying to be like confident, but also humble and respectful. And like the babyface thing has never quite been, like, he's fine at it. And he's awesome in the ring. Obviously he can be a babyface, in a match. But his true strength, I think, lies with healing. So you can go that way. He's going to be a guy who's easy to hate.
Yeah, I look forward to that. And also his backstage stuff, like, those segments were fine. So I was this is one of the few segments in the history of Lucha Underground I just wasn't into.
It's just because you weirdly hate Rey Mysterio.
I don't weirdly hate Rey Mysterio.
That's enough. We're moving on to questions.
Okay.
I'll have no more slandering of or libel. I don't remember which one is spoken. I'm so upset.
Yeah, so we wanted to this week, instead of doing the what we watch, what we're gonna watch, we wanted to answer listener questions.
I'm glad you said listener questions, because my brain says reader questions every time.
We don't write a transcript for this show yet, because we're bad people. But the first question, you had a couple, right? We got a couple.
Yeah, I can do them if you want.
Oh yeah, absolutely, please.
I'm looking at them on my phone so professionally. Okay, so we have from Twitter. They're all from Twitter. Spoiler. Jake MHS asks, were you surprised they addressed the Roman Reigns suspension directly? And do you think they'll bring him back, character unchanged?
No.
Well, we hit the first part already, I guess.
Yeah, and last week we also were not gonna, just because of the way that they did it. But will his character change? No, I do not think his character will change. I think what will change is the way that the announcers talk about him.
What do you go on?
So what you notice is some guys have just a generic, we're going to talk about them like they're a performer. And then for the bigger guys, they have these talking points they constantly hit over and over and over again. They'll talk about JBL. Well, yeah, he's not a good guy, he's not a bad guy, just the guy. I hope that you enjoyed my JBL impression. But just stuff like that, they sound like, as somebody who's a political science nerd, they sound like operatives for a campaign constantly hitting the same messaging. And I think that messaging for Roman Reigns will go from kind of not reverent towards him, but they just started doing it, so this isn't completely fair, but they act as though the entire crowd doesn't hate him, or that the entire crowd hates him for a completely different reason than they actually do.
Yeah.
So I think they may not be like, oh, they really hate him because they don't like the fact that he's being pushed. Like, I don't think they're gonna, like, break, that wouldn't even be the fourth wall, that would be, like, them letting you in the writer's room. But I do think they're going to de-emphasize, like, they're going to de-emphasize certain things and basically make him out to be less of, like, a conquering hero type, and more of, like, a guy who has made some mistakes. Like, I think they're going to start talking about him. They're going to try to build sympathy for him through this.
Oh, now you're stealing my answer.
Sorry. But in a way that makes him dip into being a heel first.
Yeah, I can see that. I think that you can create an organic situation where people will root for him by giving him an actual, like, worst year ever, like they tried to do with Cena. And have it start with this. He got suspended. He started losing. He starts losing a ton, but make him lose to the point where it seems unfair. And, like, the response, the way WWE is doing things is just completely off balance. Like, it doesn't fit the crime. And people might rally behind him again, because then they'll remember things like he won't be winning, and people remember, like, this dude's dope. He's great in the ring, and he can go more into that, like, stoic badass thing that he excels at. And then you have yourself a repaired Roman Reigns sometime down the road.
Yeah, that definitely feels what is like where they're gonna go. I guess we're both in the agreement as usual. So next question.
Sean_GMC on Twitter asks, how awesome is the Beverly Brothers entrance theme? That is not what I expected to get. But let me tell you, that is some Sega Genesis shit, which is not a negative, but that's all I can think of when I hear it is just, and it doesn't even matter which Beverly Brothers theme it is, they both sound like super Sega Genesis.
The whole 80s WWF theme song, I guess the catalog, there's some really great stuff in there beyond Real American. There's Brutus Beefcake's song, which is the primordial version of Owen Hart's song from the late 90s, the Enough is Enough and It's Time for a Change, and then it sounds like he's in a factory. That's what the Brutus Beefcake song reminds me of. But my personal favorite from that era is actually another tag team, which is Demolition. He's the Axe and I'm the Smasher, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
Are the lyrics? Yeah. That's my favorite. I like the Beverly Brothers, obviously. I'm human and I have a heart. But
you like that Sega Genesis shit.
Yeah. Who doesn't love that Sega Genesis shit?
Well, I mean, Super Nintendo really had a better.
Get out.
Better. You hated Rey Mysterio, so don't even.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if there are any others. I'm actually gonna. I think I might make a playlist now and just listen to it at work. So thank you. Who was that?
See, I already moved. Sean_GMC.
Thanks, Sean_GMC, for inspiring me to listen to a bunch of old wrestling theme songs at work tomorrow.
Next, we have from Men Talk. Who are you most excited to see in the Cruiserweight Classic? Now, we talked about this last week, but we talked about a few people. So just tell me who it is tops for you.
Brian Kendrick. I mean,
excuse me?
Brian Kendrick.
Thank you.
Sorry. You're right. Outside of the obvious, like, Kota Ibushi, you know what I'm saying? Like,
hey,
it's like
what?
know.
The most excited.
Yeah, no, definitely outside of him. He doesn't count.
He does. The most excited. Who are you the most excited for?
Him, then.
Which one?
Kota Ibushi.
All right.
Have you seen him? He's magic. That's like asking me in a Finn Balor Nakamura match who I'm more excited to see. Like, of course it's him. But outside of... that's the LeBron James question. Who's the best basketball player? It's LeBron James. Duh. But for the Steph Curry answer, for me, it's probably who I just said.
The Brian Kendrick?
The Brian Kendrick.
Brian Kendrick.
Yeah, the Brian Kendrick is probably, outside of that LeBron James Kota Ibushi thing, that would be number one for me.
Does that make Drew Gulak Allen Iverson because of the Philly connection? I don't really understand. Drew Gulak practices a lot.
Yeah, I think he's basically Allen Iverson though.
Okay.
Yeah, the greatest basketball. No, whatever.
And last one from Chase_Bland. At this point, what is your best prediction for who will hold each belt going into WrestleMania? I'm going to throw something in there that he did not and say the belts we know of, because we know more are coming.
Okay, yeah, because I was going to say there's probably going to be a cruiserweight belt.
Yeah, let's just talk about the ones that exist now and just fire them off. No reasoning.
WWE will be Dean Ambrose. Intercontinental will be Kevin Owens. U.S. title will be Rusev for the next 7 years, so we'll just keep answering that way. Tag team will be Enzo and Big Cass, and the women's title will be Sasha.
All right, I'll start from the bottom, since you, well, not the bottom, but where you ended. Yeah, Sasha sounds right, heading into WrestleMania. Okay, yeah, see, now I'm thinking about it too much. Sasha, just name a belt for me. My brain's freezing.
Intercontinental title, the IC title.
Cesaro.
That's a good one. U.S. title.
Still Rusev.
Okay.
Forever.
And the tag titles?
The Wyatts. With Luke Harper.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say. Ugh. I don't want them to be champions for that long.
Yeah, Harper Wyatts. They'll lose him without Harper, and they'll get him back with Harper. I'm explaining things.
Yeah, I would like if the transition was from Eric Rowan and Braun Strowman to Bray and Luke.
Yeah, where Bray's just like, man, just forget this.
We're taking this.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Which would be great.
For the big title.
Rollins.
Yeah, okay.
Rollins has already won at Mania. Feels like he's going to lose it at Mania.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those two, I think. But I'm picking Ambrose, you're picking Rollins. It's one of the few times we've kind of disagreed. And by disagreed, I mean we picked slightly different people.
Yeah. Well, that's because we leave our disagreements over Rey Mysterio, apparently.
Oh, we're not.
Sign us out, Nick. I'm upset.
Right. So that's been this week with us at Rudo Radio. You can follow me at the Nickster. That is THEN1CKSTER. That is 4 weeks in a row spelling it right. And where can they catch you?
On Twitter, Marc_Normandin. That's Mark with a C. You can find me writing about wrestling at sbnation.com/wrestling. You can read me about baseball at sbnation.com/MLB, and the Red Sox at overthemonster.com if you're into that sort of thing.
And you can catch us at Cageside Seats at soundcloud.com/Rudo Radio, and of course on iTunes. Do you have any 5-star rating you want them to put for us?
Oh boy. This podcast is Oscar worthy.
Yeah. All right. TV. So Emmy.
Don't confuse it.
Yeah, this podcast is Oscar worthy. That's what we would like you to go and give us a 5-star rating on iTunes and subscribe, obviously. Anything else?
No, I believe that is the end of the episode.
All right. Well, then, of course, as always, bye!